At the moment, Astley Hall doesn't really connect with the other buildings on the site. It kind of sits there in the middle of the park, and we want it to be alive again.
It's quite clear there are significant improvements that need to take place in order to make sure that this hall can stay as Chorley's jewel in the crown. And in order to keep that, you have to invest accordingly.
It's very important for the locals to feel that they've got something as good as it can be.
So what we're trying to achieve at Astley is balance the needs of the building with the needs of the customers.
We think the improvements to the hall are going to be a major attraction and bring thousands more people into Chorley, both from people within Chorley, but perhaps equally importantly, further afield. And if you have a major visitor attraction, it's logical to improve that and to expand its offer and make sure that there's a good reason to come and spend time here rather than just let it sit there dormant.
It represents a middling level home of the lower gentry. It's hardly been changed, and of course within it are some absolute gems of plasterwork, and the timber framing is pretty good. So from the local Lancashire vernacular building, it's a very important part of local history.
The building needs a lot of renovation. The physical heritage needs to survive, and we need to do something about that to make it more accessible.
We've got a marvellous opportunity to do some very brave things brought on by expediency rather than our own wishes. We've got material changes and deteriorations that we need to take care of.
And what we want to do is make Astley Hall valuable, more relevant to people now, to more modern audiences.
The conservation world is very much about minimal intervention. It's about not doing anything if you don't have to. And so what we've got to be acutely aware of is what needs repairing now, and do it.
What we're really looking at is a long-term vision for our hall, a long-term vision for the park. The money that we're now putting in will see a significant investment in our facilities here at Astley Hall and throughout the park, and that supports our events as well that we do through the year.
We want to make it so that people are more involved in the experience so that they'll remember it.
We're going to see the hall return to something that it used to probably look like hundreds of years ago, which is a worthwhile project. We see restoration projects taking place across the country. Well, why shouldn't we do the same in Chorley?
We've talked to over 5,000 people over the last year to evidence that what we're doing is what people want to see. It's not just a case of people turning up and having a guided tour anymore. People want a day out. They want a full day out when they come to the hall. So part of this work is to reuse the spaces in the farmhouse to make it a complete visitor experience.
We're going to see our own shop, which is going to be promoting the work that's done here at Chorley. It's also going to be selling goods. So inside we're going to see new displays, new attractions, new information about life at the hall. What was it like to actually live here? What was it like to work here?
What its purpose originally was and how Astley sits in the community.
So many hidden elements to that hall. We keep discovering new rooms, new bits of history that we didn't know existed that relates to the hall, and the idea is to link that up for the visitors.
So if we want to attract 60,000 people to a timber frame building that probably allowed access for a couple of hundred people every year of its life when it was first built, we need to make sure that the building can stand up and receive the volume of people. And so these conservation works will ensure that.
There are some challenges. We have to get agreement with Historic England about changing the windows from timber to metal. We might be looking at double glazing, which in an atmosphere of global warming I think we should look at. But the biggest challenge is getting the 1850 render off the wall without damaging too many bricks. It's important that we try and remove the render because it's falling off. That's our primary reason for being here. The building was never built to deal with render in any shape or form.
This is not just about giving the hall a facelift. It's not just about the windows and the render. It's putting the hall into context. We want to reveal the history by peeling all these layers back to make a connection to the past.
We need to tell the story. We need to tell people about upstairs and downstairs, about the family of the people who worked here, and that's far easier to do in a route than it is in a jumbled collection of rooms. And so for the first time we will be able to show that to the building's best advantage.
The project starts now. It's not something that's done in a matter of just weeks or months. It's going to take a considerable time.
We're not sure for how long, but the hall is closing to make sure we can get it fit for purpose again. And we'll communicate regularly about where we're up to and what process, what stage we're at. When we think the hall will reopen, we'll have what we call an activity plan around the works, which means all the various things that we will do to engage people, whether it's hard hat tours of the site, informal guided tours, workshops, lectures. We'll be talking to people all the way through this process.